And good morning. Oops.
Here at HEB in the Healthy Living Department, the probiotics, you can find Jenka 7 days a week.
Yeah. Look at a Jinker sale. Look at that. Jinker.
seen, I mean, them Steelers fans came and they showed up today in our stadium, and we sent them home. And I think our fans felt the energy, like, man, we ain't playing today, like from the get-go. So I just want to say, man, like we're gonna keep fighting every day, just so y'all can walk around with that swag.
Man, it's big time, man. You know, it's been a while since we won at home. 21, that's crazy. Think about it, man. But we really needed that. You know, Pittsburgh coming in, you know, the type of team Pittsburgh was, man. But I feel like it was big time to get that win for us, man. But we needed that momentum. But we're gonna use that and go next week. You know, watch this game film, learn from it, and keep stacking.
Yeah, man. When we get in that red zone, our mentality is to continue going forward. We don't want to go backwards. Unfortunately, we went backwards, but you know, every time, man, we came to the huddle, we was like, hey, well, the next play, we can't worry about that. We got to go forward. And if you look at it, we scored 3 times in that drive, man. So it meant a lot for us too.
All right, so I was just informed that you can't hear me. If somebody could drop it in the chat and let me know. I think I had the mute button on the microphone. We can hear the video, but not you. Okay. Is there sound? Hello, hello. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you guys for that. So listen, as I said to start the show, it is October. It is the beginning of the 4th quarter of 2023. That means that you still got time to get some things done. So I'm excited about what is happening in Houston on the sports scene, the fact that it's the final quarter of 2024. I'm excited about just my business because now I've got 1 quarter to get things working before the end of this year to start a whole new year in 2024. If that's you, you can just say, yep, me too, drop it in the chat. I also want to tell you, oh, there was something. Okay. Thank you, Tony. I appreciate that. I think it was me. It was a technical error on my side. I switched the position of my mic, and I think I accidentally hit the mute button. It's called technical issues, but that's why I'm so glad that this show is interactive. So welcome. I'm super excited about today's show. Andre Ware is going to join us shortly. And Andre Ware, yes, the former Heisman Trophy winner and current college football analyst for ESPN and Houston Texans radio analyst, is going to join us to talk a little football this morning. But there is so much to get to. The Houston Texans are 2-2. This is what I think you may have missed me say. They won their first game at home in NRG Stadium since 2021, since December of 2021. Also, they haven't won back-to-back games since 2019. Y'all, that was 4 years ago. You know, you think about it. So yes, excitement all around. They beat a very good Pittsburgh Steelers team, or a pretty good Pittsburgh Steelers team. The final was 30-6. That means the defense kept the Steelers out of the end zone, right? They only scored 2 field goals. And here's the other thing. On that opening drive, the Houston Texans actually got in the end zone 3 times before they actually were credited with a field goal, with a touchdown. They scored 3 times. It was called back 3 times, but they stuck with it and scored again. I think that's really what kind of set the tone for the day. Here's head coach DeMeco Ryans talking about that.
First drive, it really helped us, right, offensively. We've been having a few slow starts, right, coming out, so that really helped us even with the penalties and being able to move back. A couple times there, we were hurting ourselves. When we've been in those positions before, we've not scored, right? It turned into a field goal, or we just hurt ourselves so many times. But to see us get better in that position, you know, we needed to score in the red zone, and for us to score multiple times and get it called back, I think it was really momentum shift for our offense, right? And they knew they could put the ball in the end zone, and when you see that multiple times, just gain more confidence. And I think that's what helped them a lot throughout the game. They knew they had confidence to put the ball in the end zone and move the ball, and that spurred a lot of movement throughout the game, right? We controlled it there at the end. I love the 4th quarter drive there. We held it, we ran the ball, you know, when we needed to run the ball and burn the clock. So it was really awesome to see our offense work the way they did today.
The offense worked through it. It was cool to see CJ Stroud, the rookie quarterback rather, continue to just look, man, so cool, so calmly and collected, right? It really is who he is. When you see him, you know, I've had a chance to see him since he got here after the draft, throughout the summer, training camp, practices, game action, what you see in the game, what you hear when you hear from CJ Stroud on the podium after something happens, that really is who he is. And it's really exciting to watch him play. Here is Dameon Pierce, who was a part of the running game, finally kind of getting going this weekend. The Texans finished with 139 yards rushing. Dameon, I think, finished with 86, but the running game has just kind of not been great. Of course, a lot of that has been because they've not had great push up front with the offensive line, but they got it going this week. And here is running back Dameon Pierce.
36 when you have a home win since what? Christmas 21? Love it, man. The energy was great. That was probably the deepest I've seen the stadium, the deepest I've seen NRG, like, since I've been here. So, it's just cool to be a part of that, man. Seeing Coach Miko get a big win at home, just being a part of that energy, and hopefully the beginning of great things to come, Yeah, of course. Anytime we have a 30-6 win, defense did a great job. That means they kicked 2 field goals. So defense, holding up, they playing lights out. Offense, we put up 30 points. Like I think all of it started with Jacksonville. We, seeing that we can be a great team. Just having opportunity, to come back home and showcase that. To show that improvement that we've been putting in. Off the field. Away from the cameras. It's great to see it come to fruition like that.
It's great to see it come to fruition like that. It's great to see them, get a win. And it's interesting. You heard in that first piece when CJ talked about the Pittsburgh Steelers fans that were in the building. It was a Steelers crowd in terms of the number. It was a sellout crowd. I believe that there were more Steelers fans in the building than Texans fans. But what Texans fans did was, they took over and gave that team the home field advantage of having their crowd behind them. And that was pretty exciting. I've heard some people say, man, it's a shame that Houston fans aren't showing up if they're selling their tickets. Well, there's a couple things you got to think about. Steeler fans have been Steeler fans for a long time. They travel. There are a lot of Steeler fans in Houston. And yes, it was the day that JJ Watt was inducted into the Texans Ring of Honor. Only the third person after Andre Johnson and founder Bob McNair. But I think Houstonians, Texans fans are still trying to see if this team is for real. I mean, when you fall off like they did for such a long time, it takes a minute for fans to get back on board. So, it may be a minute, but it was kind of cool to see the way the Texans fans kind of took over, if you will, that game on Saturday, that game on Sunday, because it definitely was a Texan crowd. I'm going to bring in now our special guest for today, the big interview, Andre Ware, former Heisman Trophy winner and current ESPN college football analyst and Texans play-by-play or color analyst, Andre Ware. Good morning, my friend. How are you? I think you're muted, Dre.
How about that? There we go.
There we go.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for hopping in. Awesome. I know how busy your weeks get, so we appreciate you. Your thoughts on just finally being able to call the Texans win at home for the first time in a few years?
It's been a while, and so it feels pretty good. Feels good to be able to say that you've won 2 in a row, which hasn't happened in quite some time either. And then a game that you feel that you're going to be competitive in the third week in a row, going to Atlanta this week. So there's some good things going on Kirby. I'm excited about what's happening with DeMeco, the hiring of him coming in, and then CJ being drafted. All the parts and pieces starting to gel together, and you're starting to see it and reap the benefits from it.
Are you surprised in what you've seen from CJ Stroud so quickly at this level?
Yes, and usually he's playing, you get a quarterback that's playing like him or similar to him in about the second year, 2.5 years into it. And by that, I mean, a lot of guys are just running plays. The coach calls a play, you're just, the hardest part's just being able to articulate the play in the huddle and then get out of the huddle into the line of scrimmage and then run it. That goes on for about the first year. Then you start playing quarterback. You actually start learning to read defenses and you what works best against this look and that look, and then checking plays and things. So there's a progression into playing the position, along with being anticipating throws and things of that sort. He's already there. And this is, anticipating throws. He made a couple of throws on Sunday that even I had to stand up and was like, whoa, wait a minute. You don't make that throw till year 3 or so. But he anticipates well. It's a young man that you can tell. He's extremely bright between the ears. He studies the game a lot because you can't anticipate and know the things that he knows without being, studied up, so to speak.
The other thing, Andre, about him that I think is so impressive is he is so mature for his young age, and he's so poised. He's mature at the podium, but he's so poised and calm on the field.
Yep. Well, when you're not trying to be cool and hip and all of that good stuff, and I'm sure he's that way with his buddies, but he knows how to button himself up when the camera's on and things of that sort. And that's going to take him a long way. And it's good to see it. You don't have to worry about what CJ's doing. CJ's always going to take care of business. And just it's refreshing to see a young man kind of walk in his shoes.
You mentioned DeMeco. I think everybody was excited about DeMeco coming back to Houston. I think there are people who had questions about, can Bobby slow it? I mean, is he going to be able to call and run this offense? I think people are starting to say, you know what? Maybe he can.
Yeah. I mean, there's a little trickery that's going in. The halfback pass from Singletary the other day and to Schultz for a touchdown. There's been end arounds for Tank Dell. There's all kinds of, little tricks of the trade, so to speak. And I think this is what fans have been clamoring for years, just some imagination to the offense. I just wanted a hitch and a slant thrown every once in a while. And you're finally seeing that kind of stuff work itself through the offense. So it's been fun. And, there were question marks, I guess, early in the preseason, but Bobby wasn't going to show you much. There's no reason to show it in the preseason. And I think they're starting to really evolve as the season's progressing.
One of the things too, it's early. There hasn't been this kind of a feeling around this Houston Texans team in quite a while. And people are already saying, okay, well, they're 2-2. They're tied for first in the division. Maybe they can get to the playoffs. And I kind of say, well, let's wait. But, what are your expectations for how good this team can be? I thought, ease into it. They get a little better each year. Is it way too soon? Is it too soon to imagine a chance that they could somehow get into a playoffs?
I would not too soon, but even I have kind of allowed myself to think that way a little bit. And I'm about you know me. I keep it about as real as you possibly can. Coming into the season, I thought maybe 6 wins.
Yeah.
But then you start looking at the divisions that they play in the AFC North and the NFC South. I think the South is gettable. I think you can sweep the South, with Tampa being the toughest game in that division, along with New Orleans. I think they're still going to be heard from. But you start looking ahead, and because we don't play, we don't put on a helmet or put a chin strap on or button one up. So we can do these things. We can look ahead. They won't, but we can. And for the first time, I allowed myself to go through the schedule and start to pick wins. And then you start looking at the division. The Colts are going to bounce back. They get Jonathan Taylor back tomorrow. I think he starts practicing. Tennessee's always tough, but then, we've taken on Jacksonville and beaten them already. So the division's gettable. So you look at, the 5 games or so within the division. You've won one of those already. You look at the NFC South. I feel like they could sweep there. So, you're starting to put wins together, and the schedule looks favorable for a playoff run.
I'm with you. I was like, I was telling people at the start of the season, I was doing some shows in other markets, kind of temper your expectations.
Pump the brakes.
Pump the brakes. But then you start to see what they're doing. right? You
Yeah.
see a Nico Collins becoming the guy you thought he
Right.
might be able to be, right? You see this offensive line somehow be able to keep CJ upright, when we thought it was.
And you're going to get help back in that area. So you're going to get Laramie Tunsil back. At some point, Titus Howard's coming back. You're going to get a center and another guard back here in a couple of weeks. So you're talking 4/5 of the offensive line that's out, but CJ's getting the ball out. And that's another credit to him, is that he's not holding it, taking sacks. And you watch, even on the collegiate level and then across the NFL, teams with bad offensive lines, the quarterback holding the ball, and that just makes the situation worse. Well, he knows to get it out. And then when you start getting players back from injury on both sides of the ball and the schedule that I just talked about, you may be able to make a run.
You may be able to make a run. I mean, you've seen some things on special teams. Tank Dell from your alma mater, who many question, like, oh, he's small. I'm like, yeah, but he's explosive. He's exciting. Yes. He can make some stuff happen.
You can see it. You can see the explosiveness in Tank just by him warming up and moving around and things of that. Mm-hmm. So you watch him at practice, and he just kind of this glider that eats up a bunch of space in a small period of time. And then they're using him the right way to keep him healthy, so to speak. And so I just like everything that's going on right now. It's been a long time coming. It's I want to enjoy it as long as I possibly can, because I've seen the other side of it way too much.
It's not been pretty, and I won't keep you long, Andre. A couple other things I want to ask you. When CJ was, headed to the draft, there became all this chatter about some test that he didn't score well on, and was he going to fall, and how good. Help viewers understand where does that come from? I mean, when you start hearing a player who we've only heard great things about, it gets closer to the draft, and then there's another conversation about it.
It's amazing, though, isn't it, how certain players' test scores get leaked and others don't? It's amazing how that happens, right? And so it doesn't mean a hill of beans. It just means that maybe you're not a good test taker, but it doesn't mean you're not a good football player. It doesn't mean that you're not a good quarterback. Are any of the questions on that test football related? No. They're all, it's the most complicated of whatever you can find. And so it doesn't mean a hill of beans what he scored on that test. Can he learn the offense? Absolutely. Can he get in the huddle and call a play? Absolutely. Can he read a defense? Absolutely. Can he run, throw? All those things are yes. The answers are yes. And I think you're starting to see that he's a pretty damn good football player as well.
Talking with Andre Ware, who also is an analyst for ESPN, does a lot of college football. So I've got to ask you about the story of college football this year, which is Coach Prime. Do you have any Colorado games? And what do you think about that phenomenon and what is happening, what he's brought to Colorado, and some excitement around college football?
I thought I was going to have him next week against Stanford, and somehow we got clipped by another crew. But that's a story for a different day. So I thought I was headed there next Friday night. And we're headed to Memphis instead. So that's a fight for a different day and a different show. But I've just been elated in what he's been able to accomplish in a short period of time. A lot of people were, hey, the transfer rules and he shouldn't do this, that. Well, he's playing within the guidelines of the rules that have been set up. And so if you can't get it done, you don't try to, reinvent the wheel and try it with the same personnel. You've got to shake things up, and that's exactly what he's done. He has been successful in doing it. The effort last week against USC was unbelievable, how they fought back, and they're without players, two really good playmakers on the defensive side of the ball, one being his son, and then obviously Travis Hunter, who goes both ways. They lose him in the secondary and as a wide receiver. That's tough to when you have a player like that go down, it's tough to come back from. And so to see him compete like that after the Oregon loss was it was inspiring. And I know that they'll play better down the stretch. The schedule gets a little bit easier for him, a little bit lighter. It's amazing what he's hit a home run if he doesn't win another game, in my opinion, this year.
Well, and because I think people who watch football and know football, when you look at the rosters and those teams of Oregon and USC, no one expected that he could come in and win those games. But the way he
or
competed,
compete.
right?
Yeah.
All right,
It's
last thing
inspiring.
before you go, how good is Shador as a quarterback now that we see him, on a Power 5 conference?
Oh, I think he's as good as anybody in the country. The one thing that I would say is get rid of the ball but he doesn't have what he needs in front of him yet, and that's coming. That help is coming if he decides to come back next year. But Sador's a first-round draft pick, and he'll play on Sundays, and we'll watch him play football for a long, long time.
All right. Well, I appreciate you, my friend. Thanks for hopping in. You guys are going to go to Atlanta and get a win this weekend against the Falcons? Will it be 3-2? Better than 500 for the first time?
I'm betting. If I had money to bet on this one, it would be that they'll come back 3-2 with a win over the Falcons.
All right, Andre Ware. Thank you, my friend. I'll see you soon. I appreciate it. And
Alrighty.
maybe another time we'll talk about your Cougars.
Absolutely. We'll talk then. Thanks, Kim.
All right. Take care. All right, everybody. That was Andre Ware, Heisman Trophy winner from 1989. He's also an ESPN college football analyst, and he has been the Houston Texans radio play-by-play analyst since the team started. So he has seen all of it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And he's right. It is exciting. I'm with him. When people asked me at the start of the season, I did some shows over at Fox and some stuff. I think one of the shows at Channel 11, we talked about how good could this team be? And I was like, yeah, I'm not really sure. It's exciting, but like he said, pump your brakes. And I'm not putting them in the Super Bowl. So I still say pump your brakes for those of you who've just gone all the way. They won't lose again. But it is something special happening over on Kirby. It starts at the top, and I say that's with DeMeco. I think he has been doing some great things with this roster in spite of some challenges he's been dealt in terms of, just the construction of the roster. And that's a Nick Caserio conversation that we won't bother with. But I do think that those guys are buying in, and it's exciting to see what's happening. And CJ Stroud, I was talking to his mother after the game on Sunday. I had a chance to chat with her briefly, and I was like, I just was like, thank you for your son. I mean, he's just refreshing and he inspires me. And she goes, yeah, he inspires me too. And so some of that has to go to something that he's gotten at home, right? But he is really an amazing young man, not putting, a halo of wings on him, but it's just refreshing to see. And so far, he's shown up the same each time he's shown up. He is who he is, and he wants to work. He told the fans, one of the things he said on Sunday was, hey, listen, what I say to the fans is we to not have won a game at home since 2021, like that's unacceptable. And so we are here. I want y'all to know we are here fighting our tails off every single day. We want you to have the swag that we have when we get a win so that you can walk around wearing your Texas gear and be proud of it. That's the young man who is CJ Stroud. So excitement happening over on Kirby for sure. And of course, this weekend, they're headed to play the Falcons in Atlanta. Also this weekend, the Houston Astros will start their 7th straight playoff appearance. Okay. They won the American League West the last day of the season. They are the AL West champions. That's this time last week, there was a lot of hand wringing and complaining and whining and, oh my gosh, they should just fire Dusty now. This team doesn't deserve to be in the playoffs. I heard some of the most ridiculous things I've heard, right? Even from people that I would call colleagues. I was like, if you get there, you deserve to be there. So they went on the road and did what they needed to do. They played well. They pitched well. Verlander had 2 really good outings. You got some good outing from Javier. You got good work from Fromber. Maldi called great games on the road, especially in Arizona. His defense was great. And oh yeah, there's this guy, Jose Abreu, the much aligned Jose Abreu, who has just been a leader. He led the league. I think he led baseball with RBIs for the month of September. What does that mean? It means he's scoring. He's producing runs. And so I think he finished with 19. I have to look it up and see how many home runs he finished with. But he finished with, he may have gotten to 90 RBIs. what I know is he is a factor. He was their offense on the road in Seattle, and they were able to come away with the wins they needed. The Rangers fell off at the end, and the Astros did what they needed to do. So they are again your American League West champions. And I want to say this: there was an interview last week that Dana Brown, the general manager of the Astros, did on a local radio station, and he was asked a question about the lineup. And Dana's response was, well, Dusty is the one, listen, that's Dusty's job. He puts together the lineup, and we just hope that, it'll be the lineup we need to have the offense we need to be productive and win. And so there was so much made about the interview, like, man, Dana Brown, he threw Dusty under the bus. And I was like, that just didn't sound like Dana. I don't really know Dana Brown, but so I went and listened to the interview. Those are 10 minutes of my life I cannot get back. And it was nothing. It was him answering the question. It is true. Dusty does make the lineup, but it wasn't, I had to listen to it to get the tone and the context of the interview. It wasn't like Dana was on there saying, man, I don't know, Dusty make the lineup. Hope he can do it. That wasn't what he said. That wasn't how he said it. And so I say that because you got to listen to stuff for yourself. So I don't know what Dana's intentions were, but I know what it sounded like. It sounded like he was answering a question, and he gave a very valid response. Hey, Dusty makes the lineup. He puts it together. That's Dusty's job. It is Dusty's job. And here's what I say. Dusty has done a great job of managing this team. And yes, there have been other teams with injuries. I saw somebody write that. That is not the point. The point is the people that this roster has missed, especially when you talk about starting pitching, has been it is required a lot to get this team to be here, right? So that you have people ready, because when somebody goes out, if somebody else is not ready, and oh my gosh, if I never have to hear about the whole Chas McCormick isn't being treated fairly again, it'll be too soon. I digress. The Astros are in the playoffs. They're getting a chance to rest a little so that Dusty can set his lineup, his pitching. They open the playoffs on Saturday at home at Minute Maid Park. They have the second best record in the American League. So they're the number 2 team in the American League. They will play the winner of the wild card series between the Blue Jays and the Twins. So that means that the Houston Astros will either be facing, they'll face one of their former teammates, either Carlos Correa if the Twins win it, or they will face George Springer if it's the Blue Jays. So that is what's happening with the Astros. I was pulling up something to see. I just want to make sure I'm right that they have. Yeah, they're the number 2 team in the American League. The Baltimore Orioles finished with the best record at 101-61, and the Astros are 90-72. So are the Texas Rangers, but of course the Astros won the tiebreak because of the head-to-head matchup in the season, which is why the Astros finished in first place in the American League West. The only way they would face the Rangers is if somehow the Rangers and the Astros both got to the American League Championship Series. But first things first, it's the ALDS. Game 1 and 2 are in Houston at, did I say NRG Stadium? I was wrong. I meant Minute Maid Park. They're at Minute Maid Park this Saturday and Sunday. Both of those games 1 and game 2. And then they go to the away team, either Minnesota or Toronto, for game 3. And if necessary, game 4 for game 3. And if necessary, game 4. It's the best 3 out of 5. And then if there's needs to be a game 5, that's back in Houston on the 13th. But let's get through games 1 and game 2. That is this weekend. So congratulations to the Houston Astros, to Dusty Baker and that squad. And Justin Verlander, these last 2 outings has given them the kind of pitching they needed. Good solid innings, gave him a chance to give the bullpen a little bit of a break. And so, listen, on Sunday, you saw Hunter Brown closing out against the Diamondbacks. Don't tell me Dusty doesn't know what he's doing, right? So Dusty Baker, I think, is just Yeah. Oh, I know, right? Tony says Astros Twitter will always want Dusty gone. Yeah, imagine that. What has he done that makes you want him done? They've been in the playoffs each year since he's been here. He stepped in when the team was in the middle of total sheer chaos and disruption, and they've been to the World Series twice under him. They won one, they lost one, and they're back in the playoffs uh and the American League West champions again. I mean, you know, tell me the bad parts about it. So, congratulations to the Houston Astros and Dusty Baker, and to Jim Crane, because he hired Dusty. I don't know what's going to happen at the end of the season. Here's my goal: if I could write the script and somebody would follow it and it could be lived out, the Astros would win another World Series. Dusty Baker would tip his hat. He would get 2, because he said when he wins one, he wanted to get 2, and he could retire and go off to his winery back home in California. I'd go visit him and his wife and check out his winery, and he could be done with this. He has earned it. But for now, I think the focus is on that they get through it. And listen, they went into the playoffs with momentum. A lot of things are about momentum. The Astros have it, and now we just got to see what they can do the rest of the way. So kudos to the Houston Astros. And you hear me talk about this time of year where all of these things are happening at once. Football season's underway. Baseball is getting to the pinnacle, right? We're in postseason. And guess what? Yesterday was Media Day. The Houston Rockets and teams around the NBA held Media Day. So we got a chance to visit with the Rockets, and as they are today, right now, they should be practicing. They opened training camp today, and they started practice, I think, about their first practice about 10 minutes ago. I'm not there. I'm here with you. But listen, we did get a chance to talk with Rafael Stone, new head coach Ime Udoka, and Rafael Stone started by really addressing the Kevin Porter Jr. situation. Here's General Manager Rafael Stone.
The allegations against him are deeply troubling. Going back a few weeks, as soon as I heard the allegations, I informed his representatives that he could not be part of the Houston Rockets. They understood, and he has not been with the team or around the team or having interaction with the team since that time, and will not be at Media Day today or in training camp. As it relates to everything else, these are matters that under the CBA are handled by the league, not the team. And what's left for the team to do is to evaluate the best steps for our organization that remain in compliance with the league domestic violence policy.
We'll take first question.
So there were a couple questions asked of Rafael about, do you foresee him joining at any time in the future or anything happening? So a couple things to know. As he said in that clip, right now it is in the hands of the NBA because of the collective bargaining agreement, the way it reads about domestic violence. They have to make whatever ruling, the league has to make whatever ruling it's going to make before the Rockets could do anything, regardless of what they'd like to do. So that's that. He can't even really comment about it because of the CBA and with being compliant with how the league runs these situations. So if you would have asked me, I don't see KPJ being a Houston Rocket again. I don't even know if the young man has a shot to get back in the league. I don't know. It's unfortunate. And for those of us who knew him and covered him, first of all, obviously, the allegations are disturbing. I mean, when you talk about, what happened to the young woman, and it doesn't really matter why, it's disturbing. And I just don't know how he comes back from that. But man, I wish him well. I wish her well. Hopefully they definitely will stay away from each other moving forward, because that's clearly not the relationship for either of them. but you just hate to see something like that. That level of volatility and violence is just unacceptable. And you just really can't. It's tough to get. It's tough to move past it for organization, I would imagine. But you know what we know about where the Rockets stand as it relates to Kevin Porter Jr. Ime Udoka is in his first training camp with the Rockets as their head coach, and I asked him about what style of play. I mean, what can people expect in terms of not really style of play, but the identity of this team? And here is head coach Ime Udoka.
Big thing, playing extremely hard. I want people to look at us and look visually different than we have in the past, and that's from an effort standpoint. But unselfishness on the offensive end, collectively playing defense together as a group and individually. So.
And Fred VanVleet is one of the veterans the Rockets brought in the offseason. He was he's the max contract guy they brought in. He's a guard. He came in from he's in his 7th season. He came in from Canada, and he has won a championship. He's been there. He's come in as undrafted. I mean, his career has had, he's had quite the journey to get where he is. But he is a guy that is who is believed to not just have really good talent for himself and what he will bring as he shows up on the court, but what he can mean to the locker room for these young men, right? You know that the team is still very young, with a lot of 19 and 20-year-olds. They had 2 first-round picks this year, so they've got 2 other young guys in Amen Thompson and in Cam. So it is still a young team, but they've got some great veteran leadership. You've got Fred VanVleet, you've got Jeff Green, who Alpy said he's been picking his brain, and another NBA champion. He won one with Denver this year, so he's got a chance to play with Dokic, and so with Nicola, actually. Was looking to see if I got some update on something. And so he said that Alpy's been asking him lots of questions, and just, there are people who sometimes kind of compare Alpy and say, is that the kind of player he is? That's a tough comparison to make, but Alpy says he calls him Uncle Jeff. And, you could just see already the fact that it seems to be a good locker room. They're in camp. They spent some time in the Bahamas as a team this summer, just getting to know each other, try to build chemistry. But it is great to have an influx of some veterans that these young guys can learn from and can help to groom them. And we'll see what happens. Nobody wants to talk about numbers, right? No one wants to put a number on wins and what should be expected. I mean, everybody's very careful about that, from Rafael to Ime and to players. But there was somebody who said, listen, they all said we're tired of losing. I mean, they said that, from Jalen Green to, Tari and Jabari or Jay Sean Tate, who's been here a little bit longer, they're all tired of losing. They want to win, and they'd love to be in the conversation about getting to the playoffs. But, it's changing the culture of the organization and really turning around their mindset and approach. Here is Fred VanVleet on being a part of this organization, what he brings, and what he thinks his tenure could be.
First of all, the first step was just be getting us in the right spots, right? A lot of defense, especially at this level, is just being in the right spot, being in the right position, and let your athleticism and your talent, take over and be able to make plays. We got some supreme athletes and guys that can make incredible plays on this team. So getting our system in, getting us in the right spots, and being ahead, whether that's watching film or game planning and just being ahead of the play. A lot of young guys, they start off behind the play. So once you're able to get ahead of the play, you can anticipate, and that's where you see, most good defenders have success. But myself, along with Dylan, I'm excited for that. To play with a guy like that and to have that identity kind of rub off on the rest of the team, to where you take pride in playing defense, and that energy is very contagious.
That was Fred VanVleet. And it's interesting, when you talk to Ime Udoka, he has a very stoic, kind of stern demeanor, if you will. And so that's different in in terms of there's not a lot of light, and that's just not who he is. I don't think people care. I think what matters to fans and probably the organization is if he can run the kind of ship that they hope he can, and that this team can turn the corner and get back to being competitive, being a respectable team. I think that's the goal. And because he's not really jovial and super, but it's just different. But it's exciting. It's exciting times for the organization. They, of course, have also announced that they have partnered with the Houston Astros to start Space City Sports. I believe is the name of the regional sports network. It was AT&T Sportsnet. I think they have officially flipped the switch to become. I can't remember the name of it. I think it's Houston. I think it's Space City Sports. And there was a lot of talk about Bally's pulling out, which is owned all these regional sports operations and networks, saying that they just hadn't made money, that it had just been a struggle, and they were pulling out, going bankrupt. What was this going to mean? But the good thing is that trying to find the actual announcement on it. It came out about a last weekend, but they actually are starting to. I think they officially flipped the switch on Sunday after the Astros regular season ended with AT&T Sportsnet. At any rate, that's new for the organization. In the postseason for the Astros, of course, those games go to network, and they will probably do some other shows that they can put on the network since now they own it. But just a lot of exciting times that are happening in the Houston sports market on this landscape. Oh yeah, let me give congratulations to Texas Southern University. They won their homecoming game, beating Lincoln over the weekend. So congratulations to Texas Southern University. And I don't know. I'd love to know how they showed up. I mean, were there a lot of people in the stadium? Did y'all go to the game? It was on campus. I know you show up for tailgating, so hopefully it was a great turnout. You supported those young men, and they did get a win. They did get a win at home. So a lot happening locally to be a lot excited about. Tony says, great that Raphael gave that dude an NFL contract, little guaranteed money. It was little guaranteed money. And Tony, somebody asked him about that yesterday in the press conference. Was that why the kind of contract that they gave KPJ, was it because they were just trying to, be prepared? That was how they were going to handle any risk. And Raphael said, well, we never expected this. Like it was a business decision on the Rockets side, but they didn't anticipate this domestic violence issue. He said they had not heard any of this prior, and it was not an expectation or a thought or a concern that something like this would happen. And when they heard it, they were quite disturbed. So yes, only 16 million guaranteed out of the 82 million. And for some of us, we're going, that's great money. It is for the rest of us, but in NBA terms, not necessarily. Tony says, just give me a better Rocket product. Did not watch the games on AT&T Sports that for the past 2 years. Yeah, it was probably tough to watch, and because I cover the team and I'm there all the time, when they're on the road, I watch the games, but I see how it was tough for fans. And here's the thing, though, and one of the things that I think Fred may have said, or maybe Dylan Brooks, they got Dylan, another veteran, and Dylan Brooks from Memphis. He said, this team, when he saw them play last year, they were really fast, right? He noticed that about them, but they couldn't finish. And so for those of us who watched the team, there were many games we sat there at the Toyota Center covering the game and were like, okay, through 2 or 3 quarters, they played pretty well. But you just always question, could they finish? And more times than not, they could not finish. So finishing is going to be something. So I think they're going to have a better product. I think that Ime is going to demand something different. that the players are buying in, right? Because they want something different. They are in fact tired of losing, and so they want to see something different. I think it's going to be an exciting time. I don't know how good they'll be. I don't know what the upside is. Here's the thing about the NBA. I mean, 5 or 6 games can make a difference in whether you are 10, 11, or 12th seed, talking about maybe trying to get into a playoff game, play-in game for the playoffs, or being, 6, 7, or 8. So it will be interesting to see what happens, how good they can be. Part of it will be how healthy they are, and we'll see. There's just a lot to see, and I'm excited about this time of year. I'm excited about the Astros getting started on Saturday with their playoff run, with the Texans going on the road again this weekend. I think that they are in a prime position to be able to get a win in Atlanta, and the Houston Rockets are in camp. So they're at McNeese State. That's where the training camp is being held. They'll be there through Friday, I believe, or Saturday. And they have an open thing in the stadium where fans can come and watch a practice, or part of a practice, or I believe on Sunday. So just a lot happening in H-Town as it relates to sports. A lot of things to be excited about. Good morning, Miss Allen. Thank you for being a part of the show. So glad that you finally got a picture, and you got it with your mom. So that's awesome for your profile. So you're not looking like a stalker anymore. All right. Thank you for that. All right, everybody, we are out of time for today's show. As always, thank you for being an engaging audience. Make sure you share this show, this video, with whatever platform you're watching it on. If you're viewing it like Tony on YouTube, be sure to share it with the people on YouTube as we continue to grow our audience. Listen, drop me an email or send me a note, inbox me or DM me. You can send me an email at kim@kimydavis.com. I'm going to put it in the chat. I am planning a live Chalk Talk event, probably for the Cincinnati game with the Texans, where we will, you can join me and watch a game in person, and it will be limited to probably 25 people. But you'll be able to get live Chalk Talk. We'll watch a Texans game together. We'll have a lot of fun, and let me know if early so I can put you on the list. So that you can get tickets. Again, it's going to be a limited amount of people. So thank you. Hello. Please tell Miss Binder I said hello. I'm so glad that she's watching. And Josephine, Josie, glad you like the popcorn. She's a big fan of the popcorn. Kimmy Treats, get your popcorn today. All right, everybody, make it a great week. A few things. You still have time to register to vote. I think the last day is October the 10th, so that's next week. I will never tell you who to vote for. I will strongly encourage you to get registered to vote. Consider getting the new COVID vaccine. COVID is still alive and well. And remember, do something kind for yourself and do something kind for somebody else. Thank you so much for being a part of Chalk Talk. Make it a great week. Follow me across all my platforms, and you'll get updates on Rockets, Texans, and Astros throughout the rest of the week. And I will see you next Tuesday right back here on Chalk Talk. Peace.